In this video, we're going to learn how to lock cells and protect worksheets in order to restrict the kinds of things that a user can do on a given worksheet or within a given workbook. First, we have some inputs and some outputs. So we're going to create a make-believe dashboard here just to examine how these functions might work. So let's just take this input times 20 and we'll copy that down to all of these. Paste, use format, so we're pasting the function only. And then let's take this number times this number over here, and we'll copy that all the way down as well. Paste, formulas only. Now that we have a dashboard, we can start to think of how we might want the user to interact with that dashboard. For example, we really only want them to change what is in these input cells here, and we don't want them to be able to change how these outputs are calculated. To start, we'll go up to the Review tab here at the top. And in the Review tab, all the way over to the right, there's this section called Protect. This allows you to protect certain parts of the workbook. So there's the sheet, you can protect the entire workbook, and then you can allow editing in certain ranges. So for starters, we'll start with worksheet protection. So protect the sheet. And it allows users, even if it's protected, to select the locked cells and select unlocked cells. And locked and unlocked cells determine what a user can actually do. You'll notice there are also other features here that you can decide to allow or disallow. So if you don't want users to be able to do anything except for click on the cells that are unlocked, we could uncheck this button here. And if you include a password, let's just say 1234, and when we click OK, it asks you to re-enter or confirm that password. It's really important that you keep this password, if you use one, in a safe space because there's no way to recover it. If we click OK, this worksheet is now protected. And you'll see I can't actually click anywhere because all of the cells are what's called locked. So let's click Unprotect Sheet. We'll enter our password, 1234, and we'll click OK. Now going forward in this class, please do not use a password. Using a password would prevent us from being able to check your work and give you a grade. So when we protect things, know that the password feature is there, but in this class, please do not use the password, just leave that field blank. So the first thing that we'll do is we'll select all of these input cells here, and I can hold my control key down to do that all at the same time. And if I right click on these, I can say Format Cells. I can also get to this menu by pressing Control-1 as the shortcut key. Over here on the right is this Protection tab, and you'll see that these cells are indeed locked. Here I can uncheck that locked option, and when I click OK, now when I choose to protect the sheet and I only give permission to select the unlocked cells, the only cells I can select, I'm using the down arrow on my keyboard, are these four input cells that I want people to be able to change. I cannot click on at all any of these outputs. Now if I unprotect the sheet and I choose to protect it again, this time allowing both of those things, I can still select any cell, but if I go to delete that information, for example, it gives me a warning message that says I cannot do that. So again, the only thing I can change here are these input cells, even though I can select other cells. Now we saw that the way to unlock these given cells is to, while the sheet is unprotected, right click and choose Format Cells, or press Control-1, go to the Protection tab and uncheck Locked. All cells are automatically locked by default in a new Excel sheet. So as you're thinking about using protection on your sheet, you need to make sure that you have the appropriate cells unlocked. One way to do this a little bit more quickly, if you're going to be doing it a lot, is to use this part up here called the Quick Access Toolbar. If you click on this drop down to the side, you can choose More Commands. And on here they have a list of popular commands. If instead of choosing popular commands, you choose All Commands, there is a command in this list called Lock Cell. So if you press the L key, it takes you to the L section. And right here, you see Lock Cell. If I add that to my Quick Access Toolbar and click OK, now when I click on a cell that is locked, you'll see it's highlighted. And if I click on one that's unlocked, you'll see it's not highlighted. So if I wanted to unlock additional cells, I could select an entire range, or I could select single cells, and I could click this button to toggle between locking and unlocking those cells. When you go to this Protect Sheet menu, please be aware, especially if you have something like a pivot table or a pivot chart on your sheet, the user will not be able to interact with that thing unless this checkbox is checked, allowing all users to do whatever that thing is. While this video focuses on protecting worksheets, I just want to point out briefly, when you protect a workbook, it allows you to protect with a password and the structure of the workbook or not. When we choose to protect the workbook and we protect the structure, it means that users are not going to be able to do the typical edits and changes that you would be able to do if it were unprotected. So for purposes of this class, most of what you'll be focused on is protecting the sheet. And on the sheet, protection really has to do with whether cells are locked or unlocked. And that allows you to toggle between what users can and cannot do. In a dashboard type of sheet, only allowing the users to select the unlocked cells generally helps them to be able to focus on where they need to interact with your work, instead of having to click all over the place to see what's going on. Additionally, the way that you format inputs to be a clear and consistent pattern compared to outputs being a different clear and consistent pattern helps the users to be able to navigate that. So that's how we protect worksheets. Again, please remember, do not use a password for purposes of this class, although you should get practice using the lock and unlock cells options and choosing what options a user is allowed to select in your protect or unprotect menu here.